really important for us to connect to something that speaks to our heart that is larger than us.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
then we have a reason to keep on going. Welcome to this episode of the LaCroix Show. Today I'm interviewing a very close friend. We are here celebrating another friend's 50th birthday in Joshua Tree. And we have Barbara Boissevain with us here today to talk about her art, her history, and her newest book. Barbara, thank you so much for taking time to talk with me
It's
today.
so lovely to share with you.
It's nice to take a little bit of a break from our festivities. We just did a beautiful sound healing, and we'll be making dinner for our friends
Yes,
tonight pretty
yeah.
soon. How did you come across photography? How did you pick up a camera for the first time? How did that occur?
Yeah, so actually, I started out as a painter and I was an art nerd, in high school. And I started going up to the DeYoung Museum of Art on the Caltrain when I was only 14 years old. And I was interested in painting and drawing. And I went to Parsons School of Design in New York and started studying painting. And then in I think it was 1992, over the summer, I went to Paris and I went to the Palais de Tokyo and I saw Sebastião Salgado's work. He has many amazing bodies of work, but this body of work was called The Workers. And if you haven't discovered Salgado yet, treat yourself to his images, but his use of natural light and his connection with his subject is so extraordinary. And I realized that I could take the camera and basically investigate things that are close to my heart, such as the environmental issues and human rights issues, like Salgado. And it kind of a light bulb moment for me that there, because there is a politic that I'm interested in my art. And women have always had a very deep connection to the environment. And I think when we look at, there's a lot of post-feminist critique of the way that the earth has been treated being directly related to the oppression of women and women's voices being suppressed and women's power being, mitigated, so in a patriarchal society. So the fact that women have that deep inherent connection because of our bodies, because we have beings that come through our bodies and so many things pass through, us physically, and that deep connection. I think it's very natural for us, to see the earth and see when the earth is hurting, when it's been negatively impacted, and really want to care for it, in a different way than sculpt it and form it. And yeah,
Interesting. Yeah,
it's
that makes total sense. I also think that there's an aspect, and as I've watched you over the course of the last 10 or 15 years, maybe 10 years since we've known each other,
yeah,
I also notice and admire and really am appreciative of the fact that you are a very much a driving force for your voice as a photographer. I know you also are a teacher, but
hmm
you are very activated and motivated and effective at bringing your voice, your vision to the world. Like I have this sense of you, you have such a soft-spoken voice and you're so
hmm
gentle and such a
yeah,
loving demeanor, but I have a sense that you have a fierceness for the expression of your art and that you've
yeah,
had to use it to bring forth your book, your
right.
projects, your galleries. So you want to talk a little bit about what it's been like for you to be an artist and the art having the responsibility of in a way, maybe I'm thinking
Yeah.
fighting for the expression of your voice through your art.
Yeah, well, I think inherent in my story and bringing this to life, there was a lot of struggle of, finding time because I raised a family. I have there were financial considerations, there were, you know, everything that women do to balance their lives. I did feel that this restoration of the San Francisco Bay and this, very important process that's happening in the Bay is so important, and people need to know about it because of climate change and sea level rise, and the protection that wetland restoration provides. I I really felt like I needed to push. It was like beyond me and my own story that I needed to, really get this out there so that other communities know about it, that something absolutely extraordinary is happening in our bay right now. And it started about, 20 years ago. It's going to go on for another 40 years for this restoration to happen. And I was able to document it for 13 of those years.
So, because many people don't live in the Bay Area, and many people, even the people who do live in the Bay Area, may not know about the salt ponds, although many people, if you're passing over the Dunbarton or the San Mateo, it's the Dunbarton Bridge where you see them. You can see them, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even though people that live in the Bay Area may have seen them, I'm sure that 99% of people don't know about the restoration project. So do you want to talk a little bit about the history of it, what it is, and basic terms so
Yeah.
people can understand why this is so important?
Yeah, so basically, salt ponds were used for industrial salt production, harvesting salt since the gold rush. So, since the gold rush ended in the late 1850s, there have been these desalination ponds where they've extracted the salt out of the water and taken that salt and actually shipped it to Europe. So in the beginning, through my research, I learned some really extraordinary things. One is that native people did their own harvesting, but it was very low impact. They would take willow branches and they would leave them in the bay water, and the salt would crystal on the willow branches, and then
Wow.
they'd use that. They would trade salt, they would use that
On the
salt.
leaves.
And that's how they
Wow.
harvested the salt, right? So it was very sustainable. It was not negative to the environment. And then the you know people of European origin came for the gold rush, and it was, the mining was just a very exploitative view of the environment, right? It was, we're going to take these resources as fast, as quickly, as, not care about the sustainability of this. And that mentality carried over into this salt production where, they're basically scraping, piles of salt off of the land. And there are literally a million birds that come through our bay. And if the area, this giant, I think it's about 15,000 acres that are being restored back to natural wetlands. Once they're restored, these tidal mudflats provide all sorts of food, fish, shellfish, all of these nutrients for these birds and other small mammals. And so it increases the restoration of the bay, really increases the biodiversity of, our backyard, basically.
It's really important for us to connect to something that speaks to our heart that is larger than us,
Yeah,
because
definitely.
then we have a reason to keep on going. Talk a little bit about what it was like to produce this book, and
Yeah.
how did you fund it yourself, or?
Yeah, so I was able, you know, it was catalyzed by a essay that was written about my work by an art critic and writer, Laura Noble. She's a London gallerist, and I met her about a year and a half ago in Europe, and she said, I really want to write about your work, and I want you to get this work published. And so she wrote a really beautiful essay. And then once I had that essay, I was able to take that plus my images to different publishers and present it as a kind of a package, right? I had to learn how to present it, and so I went through that process and I got several offers from different publishers, and I had to educate myself about like which one should I choose? How is, what does this process look like? And I financially in the publishing world has really been, it's very difficult because of the cost. People don't buy as many books as they
Yeah,
used
for
to. The
sure.
digital has really impacted it.
Yeah.
So artists and writers are asked to contribute to these projects. So my publisher contributed and then I contributed. So I raised money through a Kickstarter, which was a real growth experience for me. I mean, you as my friend know that I will do anything not to talk, it's very hard for me to talk about money and ask for money, but I
But you had
had
this
to,
larger vision, this larger,
yes,
you looked up and saw this need that you
yeah,
wanted to answer to. So you
exactly.
pushed through
I
that
did.
challenge of talking about money and launched a Kickstarter
Yeah,
account.
and it was successful,
Yeah.
and I was just overwhelmed by the support I had from my community, and so I was, very, yeah, it was a big, big year of growth for me. It was
Beautiful.
fantastic.
I think
Yeah.
that's another piece that's really important to say, that when there's something that's really important to us, that we see that need for, that we're willing to make ourselves uncomfortable and go through the difficulty, that we grow. We
Yes.
grow
Yeah.
so much.
We
And
do.
I'm
We
sure there are
do.
many things you could point to that you are different now, say, than you were before you did this book, either as an artist, as a woman, as a person creating things in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What's one?
Absolutely. Um, I think now I do feel a lot of, I understand my process better.
Yeah.
I understand that struggle is just normal,
Yeah. It's part of the
Yeah,
plan.
it's like the grit in the mill, the grist in the mill,
Yeah.
right? It's the thing that, and now I embrace that,
Oh, more than you did
and more
before,
than I did
even though you were an
before.
artist for so many
Yeah,
years.
but I've really learned that yes, maybe it's more like acceptance, that struggle
Or
is,
bracing, maybe?
yeah,
Embracing it?
embracing
Yeah.
it, and because there is a lot of that, and there's a lot of rejection too. Like I think one of the things I tell my students is something that separates a lot of artists from the successful ones, from the ones that kind of give up or stop producing their art, is not talent, really. I mean,
Yep.
some of it is talent, but a lot of it is your ability to accept
Rejection.
rejection
100%.
over and over
A
again.
hundred percent.
I mean, and even I know a lot of mid-career and very successful artists, and they even to this day, they're constantly putting their work out there, and they still get rejection. So you just have to, take that in stride and learn how to, move past, you feel those feelings, and that disappointment, and then move through it and move beyond it.
That
So
is such a
that's,
great point. It's the second or third time I've heard that concept in the last week or so. And it's something that I know I'm still working with. I'm still working
mm,
with how do I get better at accepting, embracing, and working through rejection.
yeah,
I heard on a podcast, I think a couple days ago, that that ability, that's one of the things that we need to help kids, we need to help teens, and we need to continue to learn ourselves, that the difference between what you just said, success and being stopped, is our
yeah,
ability to tolerate rejection.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
huge. So thanks for naming that. How about for my audience who aren't artists, who don't know about the salt ponds, who don't know about the restoration project? What are the things that we mostly that you'd want? What are two or three things you'd want the general
Yeah.
public to know about this project, about the salt ponds, about what you've learned from working on this?
Yeah, so one is that you can go out there and directly experience it. That this is if you're in the Bay Area especially, or another geolocation where they have coastal wetlands, or go out and see it for yourself, right? Because it's really beautiful. I've taken my friends out there, and when I was shooting, and all of them were just like, wow, I can't believe that this is here. And even though it is this alien kind of strange landscape, it's very beautiful and it's very interesting. And there are trails, the Ravenswood trail. It's this, if you look up the South Bay Salt Pond Restoration Project online, and I know that's a mouthful, but they
I'll put that in the
have,
show notes so people
yeah,
can find it.
yeah, they have all of the access points and places where you can go and see. Another takeaway is that, I know people feel overwhelmed by the environment these days, and it can get very dark. And I think one thing that keeps me emotionally healthy is that I have this, that I'm contributing to, and it gives me purpose,
Yes.
right? And so I am contributing to something, I'm doing something. I wake up in the morning, I have a mission, and it really helps. It's
So get involved
constructive.
in some
Yes, and it could
small
be,
way.
and don't believe, there are always people that are going to tell you we're doomed, that it's over. Do not believe
Yeah.
that. And, we, for the sake of our children especially,
Yeah.
we have to push forward. We have
Yeah.
to keep going.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Great. So talk a little bit about how people can learn more about your work, how people can learn about the book, if they wanted to purchase it, or if they wanted to support in any way. Where do we do
Yeah,
that?
so there is a website for the book specifically. It's called saltoftheearthbook.com, and you can purchase directly off that website. The book has been published. I'm pre-selling the copies right now. You can also purchase directly from the publisher, Kehrer Verlag, but they're in Germany, so I would appreciate it if you published from me or purchased it from me.
Mhm.
And then I will be, if you go to my website or the website for the book and get on my mailing list, I will let you know about artist talks and different events where I'll sign your book in person. And we're going to have some fun events coming up.
Beautiful. Great. And I'll put all that information in the show notes. So if you wanted to follow the book or Barbara's talks, you can do that. And then do you also have your own website for the
Yes.
larger body of
Yeah.
work?
And my own website is just my name, barbaraboissevain.com.
Which I'll also put in the show notes. So Barbara, thank you so much for
Thank
talking with
you,
me. Thanks for
Lisa.
doing
Thank
the work
you.
that
I
you're
really appreciate
doing,
it.
that you're
Yeah.
doing for the world, and as inspiration for people, for the environment. I really appreciate your message that we can all do something, even if it's a little bit, and not to listen to this idea that not one person can't make a difference or it's too late. So thanks
Yeah.
for what you're doing for the world.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for talking. Yeah. If there was anything in today's episode or any other episode that you found interesting or useful or compelling, if you could subscribe to the channel, you can hit that notification button or the like button, or even make a comment below. It all helps the channel grow. And in the meantime, here are some other videos you might find interesting.